Welcome to day 4 of the Advent calendar, and I was just thinking, what a life that we get to live. And honestly, every day I feel grateful that we get to stand in this room, that we get to interact with you guys, and that we get to be a part of this really amazing journey of whiskey. But really, any of us who have the luxury of taking time to sit down and watch a video about whiskey and sip on some whiskey, we've really got it made. Whatever else is happening in our lives, for this little 6-minute bite-size tea time episode, we're really living the good life. So today is Glen Moray, and I say that because I don't really like Glen Moray. I've got 4 different Glen Morays down here, and I've never disliked it because it never became interesting enough to be liked or disliked. I just found every time I drank a Glen Moray, I was bored. And that's a really disappointing thing to be with a whiskey. So I'm interested to see what happens with this one, because one of my things with Glen Moray is I always think, with a little more alcohol kick, this might have some complexity to it, but it's just too sweet or too pretty or too simple. This is ringing in at 58.2% alcohol. It's 9 years old, distilled in 2008. Bourbon cask, which I'm a fan of because some of the Glen Morays I really dislike are the wine cask finish ones, the Chardonnay, and they've got several wine cask finish ones. And I'm not a big fan of those. They get so sweet. And Glen Moray is just such a pretty Speyside-y. Yeah, and there it is. It's got all the dense perfume of yesterday's Aknagi, but there's something else in there. So the thing about Glen Moray is, these days it's showing up on budget prices, but don't be fooled. Glen Moray dates back to the late 1800s, and it's right around Aberlour. As a matter of fact, the people who owned Glen Moray distilled at Aberlour and owned Aberlour. At various times, Glen Moray got opened and closed, which is pretty typical, actually. They're not the only one that happens to. I would be willing to bet money that a lot of Glen Moray ends up in blends, or at least the blends of whoever owns them. So I think I figured out what I'm smelling that was totally different than the first groupings. It's vanilla cappuccino. It's coffee. There's a coffee note, but it's not dark coffee. It's heavy vanilla cream coffee. And then right behind that, there's a slightly soured. It reminds me of Richard Patterson is always talking about baby sick when he's describing Dalmore, which sounds horrible. But if you have kids and you've ever, not had them truly throw up, but just a little spit up on the cloth, and you get that milky, slightly sour, I think that's what I'm smelling in this thing, which sounds horrible, but it's not that bad. This is just so densely sweet. I'm hoping the taste is more complex. Ooh. No, it's not. That high proof makes the sweetness so clingy that it was just like coating my mouth with sugar. Painting it with, man, I need to proof that down a little bit, because imagine all the sugar so dense you can't escape it with nowhere to turn. That is all, I can't find any subtleties. It's just all floral, perfumey, vanilla, butterscotch, dense, sweet sugars. I would use this in a blend to round out some of the phenol-heavy or smoky whiskeys and provide the sugar base. Oh, wait, something else just jumped out. Wow. What's weird is I'm now having a memory of last night I went to sushi, and I had some of the fish was grilled on a and on a rice bed, and it had this sweet sauce to it, and so you get this mix of charred protein, meat, and sweet, and it's reminding me of that. This just sweet glazed meat. But I feel like that's leading you the wrong direction, because normally I would speak of an Islay or a heavier whiskey as meaty. This is not meaty. This is lighter. It's fresher. If it was a meat, it's a chicken, not a red meat or a fish. Okay, so with a little water, it opens up a little bit, and now we get some more of the floral honeysuckle. The sugar is not so overpowering. It's not my territory, man. This is, it's just too sweet. I don't know who I would pick to introduce this into whiskey, but it's too pretty for me. I'm not a big sugar fan. I'm more of a savory. And this one just lives square in the middle territory of sugar. So, we'll see what tomorrow is. Until then, may your crazy stay this side of legal, and may you return before we have time to miss you. Cheers.